The human element. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation had fallen silent. Representatives of 37 species sat frozen in their seats as Admiral Theric of the Altarian Defense Force finished his report. The human warship Reckoning has been deployed to the Cygnus sector, he announced, his scaled skin shifting from green to a pale blue. It will arrive within 2 cycles. A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Elder Tholak of the Centauri Dominion clicked his mandibles nervously. Are we certain? The humans wouldn't risk their flagship without cause. The intelligence is confirmed, replied Ambassador Shenra, her luminescent tendrils dimming slightly. The Krivak incursion into neutral territory has escalated. 3 colony worlds destroyed in as many weeks. General Drax, a massive reptilian warrior, whose people had conquered dozens of systems before joining the Confederation, leaned forward. I've witnessed the reckoning in battle. One moment, empty space. The next, he made a crushing gesture with his armored hand. Surely these are exaggerations, scoffed Diplomat Quill from the Silurian Collective. No single ship cold. Did you forget what happened at Proxima Delta? Interrupted War Minister Vox, her crystalline form glittering under the chamber lights. The room fell silent again. No one needed reminding of how a single human vessel had decimated the previously unstoppable Krivak invasion fleet. What I don't understand, said Ambassador Shenra, is how we ever underestimated them in the first place. 20 years earlier, humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Confederation. Earth had just achieved practical faster-than-light travel, and their exploratory vessel, an ungainly ship called the Pioneer, had stumbled upon a Confederation outpost. The initial assessment had been dismissive. Humans were physically unimpressive, with no natural armor, average strength, and unremarkable senses. Their technology seemed primitive by galactic standards. This assessment changed dramatically when the Krivak, a highly aggressive species outside the Confederation, attacked humanity's first extrasolar colony on Proxima Centauri b without provocation. The small settlement of 12,000 people was nearly obliterated before help could arrive. The Confederation expected humans to retreat, to abandon their colonization efforts, perhaps to beg for protection. Instead, humanity did something that shocked every observer species. They built the Reckoning. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of the Reckoning, watching her crew prepare for departure. Even after commanding the ship for 4 years, the sight still filled her with a complex mixture of pride and solemn responsibility. The warship didn't look particularly frightening at first glance. Unlike the massive ornate dreadnoughts of the Altarian Defense Force or the organic-looking vessels of the Centauri Dominion, the Reckoning had clean, functional lines. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, creating the impression of a ship-shaped void in space. Only the occasional pulse of crimson light from the engine ports and weapon systems hinted at the power contained within. Captain, final preparations are complete, reported Commander Ishida, her executive officer. Despite being in his 50s, Ishida moved with the precision and energy of someone half his age. His uniform bore the simple insignia of the Earth Defense Fleet, a stylized planet with a shield. Thank you, Commander, Chen replied, turning from the viewport. Status report. All systems optimal. The quantum drive modifications have been completed. Engineering reports 115% power capacity. Dr. Okafor has been busy again. Ishida's normally serious expression broke into a slight smile. The crew is ready, though I understand we're taking on a passenger. Chen nodded grimly. The Confederation is sending an observer, Ambassador Nixel of the Flaxian Assembly. A babysitter. Ishida raised an eyebrow. A diplomatic necessity, Chen corrected, though her tone suggested she shared his sentiment. And perhaps a useful source of information. The Confederation's intelligence on Krivak movements has proven valuable in the past. A chime at the door interrupted them. Enter, Chen called. Dr. Maya Okafor, the ship's chief engineer and quantum physicist, strode in. Unlike most of the crew in their neat uniforms, Okafor wore a lab coat over her regulation attire, her curly hair pulled back in a hasty bun, stylus tucked behind her ear. "Captain, the shield modifications are complete," she announced without preamble. "I've incorporated the data from our last encounter with the Krivac. Their phase cannons won't penetrate our defenses so easily this time." "Excellent work, Doctor," Chen replied. "Is there something else?" Okafor hesitated. "I've been reviewing the intelligence reports on recent Krivac activities. Their attack patterns have changed. They're targeting specific installations, particularly research outposts and archaeological sites. They're looking for something," Chen surmised. "That's my assessment," Okafor agreed. "And whatever it is, they're willing to obliterate entire colonies to find it." Chen was about to respond when Lieutenant Koro's voice came over the comm. "Captain, to the bridge. Priority message from Admiral Zhou." Minutes later, Chen stood before the holographic projection of Admiral Zhou, her expression grave as she received her orders. "The situation has escalated, Captain," Zhou explained. "We've received a distress call from the Vega Science Outpost. The Krivac have launched a full-scale attack." "Vega is neutral territory," Chen replied, frowning. "A joint human-alien research facility. Why would they?" "Unknown, but intelligence suggests they're after something specific, something the research team discovered." Zhou's image flickered slightly. "This isn't just about territory anymore, Ilara. Something has changed in the Krivac strategy. Find out what they're after and stop them." "Understood, Admiral. When do we depart?" "Immediately. The Confederation has already been notified. Your observer will meet you at Vega, assuming there's anything left." Zhou's expression softened slightly. "I know your history with the Krivac, Ilara. After what happened at New Eden, just remember, this mission is about protection, not revenge." After the transmission ended, Chen returned to the bridge. The Reckoning's command center was a marvel of human engineering. Minimalist yet functional, with holographic displays and neural interface stations for each officer. "Set course for Vega Science Outpost. Maximum speed," she ordered. "All departments to battle readiness." Lieutenant Koro, the tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, even at maximum quantum velocity, we'll be 12 hours behind the initial distress call." "Then we better hope we're not too late," Chen replied grimly. "Lieutenant Evers, notify the crew. We're deploying in 10 minutes." As the massive warship prepared to depart, Chen thought about her crew. The best Earth had to offer, handpicked for their skills, adaptability, and resilience. What made the Reckoning truly dangerous wasn't its advanced weapon systems, adaptive shields, or revolutionary stealth technology. It was the human minds that controlled it. Unpredictable, creative, capable of the kind of lateral thinking that so often confounded enemy tacticians. The Reckoning detached from the orbital shipyard, its quantum drives powering up with a low hum that resonated through the ship. As they accelerated toward the quantum threshold, Chen addressed her crew over the ship-wide comm. "This is the captain speaking. We've received a distress call from Vega Science Outpost. Our mission is to respond, assess the situation, and if necessary, engage the enemy. The Krivac have violated neutral territory and attacked a peaceful research facility. We will determine why and ensure it doesn't happen again." She paused. "Many of you were with me at New Eden. You know what these aggressors are capable of. Today, we show them what humans are capable of." The Reckoning vanished in a flash of light, tearing a hole in space-time as it accelerated beyond conventional physics. The most feared warship in the galaxy was on the hunt. 12 hours later, the Reckoning emerged from quantum space at the edge of the Vega system. The bridge crew immediately began scanning for survivors and enemy vessels. "Multiple debris fields detected," reported Lieutenant Evers, the sensor specialist. "Consistent with destroyed ships and station fragments. Radiation patterns suggest the attack occurred approximately 18 hours ago." "Any survivors?" Chen asked sharply. "Scanning. Avers worked her console with practiced efficiency. I'm detecting a faint distress beacon from the far side of Vega IV. Reading life signs, approximately 30 individuals. They appear to have taken refuge in the moon's mining facilities. Any sign of Krivac vessels? 2 warships in orbit around Vega IV, Lieutenant Koro reported. Destroyer class. They appear to be conducting surface scans. Chen's eyes narrowed. They're still looking for something. Tactical assessment. They haven't detected us yet, Koro replied. Our stealth systems are functioning optimally. We have the element of surprise. Good, Chen nodded decisively. Battle stations. Prepare all weapon systems. We're going in. As the crew prepared for combat, Chen studied the tactical display. The Krivac vessels were formidable, but the reckoning was designed to outmatch them. With the element of surprise, they cooled. Captain, Evers interrupted her thoughts. I'm detecting a quantum disturbance. Multiple signatures. It's a Krivac battle fleet. The holographic display updated, showing 8 more Krivac warships emerging from quantum space. 3 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, and a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the reckoning. They're reinforcing their position, Commander Ishida observed grimly. This wasn't a simple raid. It's a full-scale military operation. Chen studied the new tactical situation. The odds had just shifted dramatically against them. Even the legendary Reckoning couldn't take on an entire battle fleet. But the survivors on Vega IV didn't have a chance without intervention. Maintain stealth systems, she ordered. Plot an approach vector that keeps us in Vega IV's sensor shadow. Lieutenant Koro, prepare precision strikes on the 2 destroyers in orbit. Commander Ishida, have Marines standing by for a rescue operation. Captain, Ishida said quietly, even if we eliminate those 2 ships, the moment we reveal our position, the entire fleet will converge on us. Chen nodded. I'm counting on it. Dr. Okafor, I need your quantum drive modifications ready. We're going to need to make a very precise jump on my mark. As the Reckoning silently approached Vega IV, using the moon's electromagnetic field to mask its signature, the crew prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. They were outnumbered 10-1 by a force that had already destroyed an entire research outpost. But they were humans, and humans had a reputation for doing the impossible. Impossible victory. The Reckoning slipped through the darkness of space, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of stars. Inside the Combat Information Center, Captain Chen and her officers finalized their desperate plan. Kinetic strike packages armed and ready, reported Lieutenant Koro. Target solutions locked on both Krivac destroyers. Marines standing by in drop pods, added Commander Ishida. Extraction team is prepared for immediate deployment once we've cleared the orbital defenses. Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. The 2 Krivac destroyers orbiting Vega IV were vulnerable, but the main battle fleet positioned at the edge of the system would respond the moment the Reckoning revealed itself. Dr. Okafor, status of the quantum fold capacitors. The chief engineer's voice came through the comm, tense but confident. Charged to 187% capacity, Captain. It's beyond recommended safety parameters, but the containment fields are holding. We'll have enough power for one precisely calculated quantum jump, followed by an immediate weapons discharge. And you're certain this will work? Chen pressed. In theory, yes. In practice, Okafor hesitated. Let's just say I wouldn't bet against human ingenuity. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Neither would I. All stations, prepare for Phase 1. Execute on my mark. The Reckoning accelerated silently toward its target position, using Vega IV's magnetic field to mask its approach. When it reached optimal firing range, Chen gave the order. Mark. Twin streaks of light erupted from the Reckoning's forward batteries. Hypersonic tungsten rods accelerated to near-relativistic velocities. Before the Krivac destroyers could even register the attack, the kinetic projectiles tore through their hulls, shattering critical systems and triggering catastrophic chain reactions. Both ships erupted in silent explosions. Direct hits, Koro confirmed. Both targets neutralized. Krivak battle fleet is responding, Evers reported urgently. They've detected us. Multiple ships altering course to intercept. Deploy extraction team, Chen ordered. Commander Ishida, you have 8 minutes to get those survivors. The Reckoning's ventral bay opened, releasing 3 marine drop pods that streaked toward the lunar surface. Meanwhile, the ship engaged its primary defensive systems as the first wave of Krivak fighters approached. Point defense grid online, announced Koro. Intercepting incoming missiles. The space around the Reckoning lit up with defensive fire as the human warship systematically eliminated the first wave of attacks. But the main Krivak fleet was closing fast, led by the massive dreadnought. Captain, we're receiving a transmission, Evers reported with surprise. It's from the Krivak flagship. Put it through, Chen ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of a Krivak war leader. Its chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under harsh lights, 4 yellow eyes fixed on Chen with cold intelligence. Human vessel, the war leader hissed, its translator rendering the complex clicks and whistles into English. You have interfered in matters beyond your understanding. Surrender now, and perhaps your deaths will be quick. Chen met its gaze unflinchingly. This is Captain Ilara Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Reckoning. You've attacked a neutral research outpost and murdered civilians. Surrender your vessels and withdraw from this system immediately. The Krivak's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Your species' arrogance is remarkable. 1 ship against a battle fleet. Perhaps we underestimated your capacity for self-destruction. Perhaps you did, Chen replied evenly. You wouldn't be the first. The transmission cut abruptly as the Krivak dreadnought fired its main battery, a devastating beam of energy that sliced through space toward the Reckoning. Evasive maneuvers, Chen shouted. Adaptive shields to maximum. The human warship twisted impossibly, the beam grazing its reinforced shields. The impact still sent tremors through the hull. Shields holding at 72%, reported Koro. That was their main planet killer weapon. They're not holding anything back. Chen's tactical display updated with the positions of the approaching Krivak fleet. They were being surrounded, cut off from any escape route. Exactly as planned. Extraction team reports success, Ishida announced. 32 survivors recovered, returning to the ship now. Time to extraction team docking, Chen asked. 3 minutes, Captain. Krivak cruisers closing from 3 vectors, warned Koro. We'll be within overlap of their weapons range in 2 minutes. Chen nodded. Perfect. Dr. Okafor, prepare the quantum fold drive for my command. Lieutenant Koro, arm all secondary batteries and target the cruisers. Let's give our Marines the time they need. The Reckoning's defensive systems engaged fully as it maneuvered to keep the Krivak ships at bay, its weapon systems firing precisely calculated bursts to force the enemy vessels to adjust their approach. The human warship danced through space, using its superior maneuverability to avoid the worst of the incoming fire. Extraction team docked, Ishida reported finally. All survivors aboard. Krivak fleet has us surrounded, Captain, Evers added. No conventional escape routes available. Chen smiled. Who said anything about conventional? Dr. Okafor. Execute quantum fold jump. Target coordinates. Directly above the Krivak dreadnought. Executing quantum fold in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The Reckoning vanished in a flash of brilliant light, the space it occupied collapsing momentarily before stabilizing. A heartbeat later, it reappeared directly above the massive Krivak flagship, so close that the enemy's defensive systems couldn't lock on. All power to forward batteries, Chen commanded. Target their command center and fire everything we've got. The Reckoning's main batteries discharged simultaneously, channeling the excess energy from the quantum fold capacitors into a devastating barrage that tore through the dreadnought's upper hull. Explosions rippled across the massive ship as critical systems failed catastrophically. Direct hit on their command center, Koro reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. Their flagship is crippled. But the Reckoning had paid a price for its audacious attack. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems reported critical damage. Quantum drive offline, Okafor reported urgently. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Shields at 31% and failing. The remaining Krivac vessels are regrouping, warned Koro. They'll be on us in moments. One of the survivors from the research outpost had been brought to the bridge. A Centauri scientist named Dr. Thylos, still covered in dust from the lunar facility. Captain Chen, he said urgently, I understand now why they attacked us. We discovered something in the ruins on Vega IV, an ancient weapon blueprint. The Krivac somehow learned of our discovery. A weapon? Chen asked sharply. What kind of weapon? Something that could destabilize stars, Dr. Thylos explained. Created by a long-extinct species called the Precursors, we were studying it to ensure it could never be used. But the Krivac, they want to build it. Chen's expression hardened. That explains their change in strategy. Lieutenant Evers, scan the damaged dreadnought. Look for any unusual energy signatures or secure data transmissions. Found something, Evers reported moments later. They're attempting to transmit a massive data package to their homeworld. Based on the encryption level, it's highly classified. The weapon blueprints, Chen concluded. They must have downloaded them from the research facility before destroying it. Lieutenant Koro, can we intercept that transmission? Negative, Captain, but we can prevent it from reaching its destination. Koro's fingers flew across his tactical station. If we detonate a neutrino pulse within their communication array's emission cone, it will corrupt the data beyond recovery. Do it, Chen ordered. Reconfigure our remaining torpedo for neutrino pulse detonation. The Reckoning's weapons bay deployed its last remaining torpedo, guiding it toward the precise coordinates where it would interrupt the Krivac transmission. The torpedo detonated in a flash of blue-white energy that was invisible to the naked eye, but devastated the subspace frequencies the Krivac were using. Transmission interrupted, Koro confirmed. Data corruption at 98%. They won't be able to reconstruct the blueprints from what got through. But the Reckoning's victory was short-lived. The remaining Krivac vessels had reorganized and were closing in, weapons charged. We've stopped them, but we're still surrounded, Ishida observed grimly. Conventional engines are functional, but we can't outrun them without our quantum drive. Chen studied the tactical display, mind racing through options. The Reckoning was damaged but not defeated, and humans were known for one thing above all others. They never gave up. Dr. Okafor, she called over the comm. What's the status of the experimental gravitic displacer? There was a brief pause before Okafor responded, surprise evident in her voice. It's functional, Captain, but completely untested. The gravitational field generation could tear us apart. And if it works, then it would create a localized gravitic anomaly that would briefly distort space-time around us. In theory, it could give us a short FTL burst without using the quantum drive. That's good enough for me, Chen decided. Prepare the gravitic displacer. All crew, brace for extreme gravitational distortion. As the Krivac fleet closed in for the kill, the Reckoning's experimental system powered up, creating an artificial gravitational well that distorted the fabric of space-time around the ship. The effect was immediate and violent. The human warship seemed to stretch impossibly before snapping forward like a released rubber band, vanishing from the Krivac sensors. The gravitic displacement lasted only seconds, but it carried the Reckoning far enough from the enemy fleet to engage its conventional engines and escape the system. 3 days later, Captain Chen stood in the Reckoning's newly repaired observation deck, watching as engineering teams worked to restore the ship's damaged systems. The survivors from Vega IV had been safely transferred to a Confederation medical vessel, and Dr. Thelos had shared all the data on the precursor weapon with Earth Defense Command. Commander Ishida joined her, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Repair teams report the quantum drive will be operational within 48 hours, he informed her. Dr. Okafor is already incorporating what we learned from the gravitic displacer experiment into the ship's systems. Chen accepted the coffee gratefully. Any word from Earth Command? Admiral Joe sends her congratulations. The Confederation Grand Council has voted to establish a joint task force to locate and secure any remaining precursor technology before the Krivac can find it. Ishida hesitated. There's something else. Our observer wants to speak with you. Ambassador Nixel of the Flaxian Assembly entered the observation deck. Unlike most of his species, who rarely left their homeworld, Nixel had spent decades studying other cultures. His translucent skin shifted colors as he approached, a sign of respect in Flaxian body language. Captain Chen, he greeted her, his voice modulated through his translator. I have submitted my report to the Confederation Council. And, Chen asked, taking a sip of her coffee, I told them exactly what I witnessed, that the stories about the Reckoning and its crew were not exaggerations, that one human ship faced an entire battle fleet to protect innocent lives and prevent a weapon of mass destruction from falling into the wrong hands. Nexel's skin rippled with blue and gold patterns, indicating admiration. The Krivac believed their superior numbers guaranteed victory, the ambassador continued. They fail to understand what makes humans truly dangerous. It's not your technology or your weapons, impressive though they are. It's your capacity for improvisation, your refusal to accept defeat, and your willingness to risk everything for what you believe is right. Chen smiled slightly. We're stubborn that way. The Council has requested that the Reckoning serve as the flagship for the Joint Task Force, Nixel informed her. With you as its commander. I'll need to consult with Earth Command, Chen replied. But I suspect they'll agree. The Krivac aren't done looking for precursor technology, and neither are we. As Ambassador Nixel departed, Ishida turned to Chen. So it seems the most feared warship in the galaxy is about to become even more legendary. Chen looked out at the stars stretching endlessly before them. The Krivac made a critical error, one that many species make when they encounter humans for the first time. They assume that because we're physically unremarkable, we're limited in other ways too. Their mistake, Ishida agreed. And not the last one they'll make. Chen said, her expression resolute. As long as the Reckoning flies, humanity will defend its place among the stars, not through conquest or intimidation, but by standing against those who would threaten the peace we've worked so hard to build. The legendary human warship continued its repairs, its dark hull absorbing the light from distant stars. Not a predator, but a protector. The most feared ship in the galaxy, and a symbol of humanity's greatest strengths: courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding determination to forge their own destiny among the stars.